Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365, where winning is everything. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me here live in the Xfinity studio, it's Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. Welcome back, Chuck, after a long day of journalizing yesterday. What did Sean Couturier get lost on the way to the training facility, or?
One of the writers made a joke. It was one of the Inquirer writers, one of the columnists. I think it might have been Mike Sealski, because he's an Inquirer writer, so he covers all the sports.
Yeah,
made a joke to Sean Couturier that we're going to start calling you Joel Couturier.
Oh, God.
Because MB, that's his thing. He always makes the reporters wait a really long time after games to interview him.
I made a joke. He's so old, he forgot how to get there.
There you go. No, what it seems like happened was that he was just in a meeting with Briere for a really long time.
Interesting. All right. No, I was just, because it felt like I watched them on Twitter and was totally caught up by like one or two.
Yeah.
And then Bryn, a little bit before the show, was like, Coots hasn't spoken yet. Charlie's not coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But this last one from TK was like an hour ago.
I think the TK one was at 1:45.
Yeah.
And then we waited 2 hours to get Couturier.
Either way, we're going to get into more of the exit interviews today. But first, I got to tell you about a whole bunch of things going on here. First, speaking of exit interviews, Charlie has painstakingly gone through the process of sending a bunch of videos for Brenna to edit, to put together a great post-presser wrap-up from yesterday's player exit interviews. And he also wrote, 20,000 words?
It was like definitely over 3,000. It was a big one. I do this one every year. It's basically 10 observations on the exit interviews. It's always really long, but the way I look at it is it's just different ways of doing it. Like,
it could just be you did one a day for a month.
Which is what Jordan does. Jordan Hall at NBC Sports Philly, it's just a different style. His thing is like, I'm just going to write 12 stories over the course of 2 weeks, all 500 words about each individual thing that happened in exit interviews. I'd rather just get it all out there.
Charlie has written a weighty tome for you all, wrapping up the player exit interviews. You can read it at allphly.com if you're a diehard. If you're not, what the hell are you doing? You get Charlie's content there. It's the best in the city. All right. Also, 1 p.m. starts Monday, May 18th. That's this coming Monday. Starting next week, we begin 1, we end, 2 or so. We always go into overtime in the summer when we're like, there's nothing to talk about. And this summer, it feels like there will be more to talk about. Yeah. But Monday, May 18th, our summer hours kick in. And that's when we really go into autopilot. No, we put a tremendous amount of effort into every single show for you, 5 days a week, right here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. All right. Charlie, so you weren't here yesterday. You know how typically we do the Wawa Wednesday segment as a branded segment for our great sponsor, Wawa. Well, they've switched it up.
Okay.
It's now Taco Tuesday.
Love it.
Which would be awesome if Tocchet talked yesterday. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, that's very fair.
But in fact, he spoke today, so we deal with it, Charlie. I want to start with Rick Tocchet's exit interview today. He met with the assembled Philadelphia media, and I want to ask you just for your main takeaway, because mine was, other than you asking specifically about more offense, you asking specifically about Michkov, there was another Michkov question. It was basically detailed questions about how can we score more and what's up with Matvei. And the rest was just kind of like, okay, kind of just general. Like I felt like it was very generic. And listen, he could have talked for an hour and that would have been more work for you. Glad he didn't. You're here today. But like, I felt like I didn't get a ton of it out of it, except for Michkov. That said, it's like, that's the thing everyone's talking about. Right. So
I would agree. I mean, after the presser, I went back and I transcribed everything, and there were quite a few questions that I listened to and didn't transcribe anything because I didn't think there was any way I was going to use it in the article. I'm right now. Like, it's no secret. You can tell if you watch these pressers, you can sort of tell what writers are going to write about.
Of course, yeah.
Like, I want to write about the offense because I think the offense is a big story going into next year of, hey, you scored 5 goals in 4 games in your second round playoff series that you got swept in. Your offense most of the year was pretty bad. What are you going to do to try to make that better? That's going to be the theme of the article I write later tonight when I break it all down. But you know, it was kind of hard for me to figure out what the other writers were writing about because I didn't know. You couldn't really tell like what their angle was. I don't know.
Matvei Michkov.
Yeah,
you
but it's probably just
you just happened to get the first question in, and then there was one at the very end. We're gonna play those clips, but the first thing I want to show is Charlie's first question to Rick Tocchet today, and then a follow-up as well, where Charlie asked about how the hell is this team gonna score more? Because you defend well, it's great, but you can't win 0-0. So where's the offense coming from?
Well, how do you score goals, right? That's one thing. You know, you can go. You know, you know, we don't have Connor McDavid. We don't have Nathan McKinnon. So you have to think of other ways, or Makar. You have to think of other ways to score as a team. Puck possession we've talked about. We got to be a better wall team. I think that's something. Corner work and wall work is a very underrated thing when it comes to hockey. If you look at the teams that go far, you watch their inside game. That's something we have to improve on. Finishing. Improvement of your shot. I mean, there's some guys, and I'm not going to name them, that have to get a harder shot, improve a shot, and you can do that. You know, you can do that. I coached Quinn Hughes. In one summer, his shot went from, you know, whatever it went up 12 miles an hour. You can improve that. So that's the sort of stuff you can systematically the same thing. You know, do we want to carry the puck in more? Yes. Be more calculated, of course. But I think puck possession and wall work is something we're going to really concentrate this year. I think that will enhance, you know, more offense from some of the certain players and our team. I don't think it's dramatic. There will be definitely some tweaks, and also we're going to dive into can we practice a little bit differently? That's going to be something I wanted to talk about. You know, can we practice a little bit more certain elements that we have to get better at? You know, there's a lot of things that you can do different, and you can't be afraid not to be different. But I'm a believer. I just didn't believe coming in here. You know, first of all, we don't have that type of team to run and gun. To give confidence, you have to stay in games. I've saw a lot of our players. I know people criticize we're a lot of overtime games and tight games, but I think that helped our team. That helped our team the last time. That helps us get in the playoffs. Losing 6-4. And just playing run and gun for a young player, I disagree with, because I think you get no confidence. There's nothing worse than a young team. First of all, you're getting the hell beat out of you every night, you know, physically, and you're losing 6-3 or 6-4. It doesn't build confidence. Now, I'm saying you have to just play a 1-4 defense and stay back all day. That's not what I'm asking to. But I think the way the players approach this year and being in games, being a 2-2 game and the comebacks we had this year, I think it's going to mean a lot for our team going forward. But saying that, yeah, we have to stretch the envelope a little bit and get some more, you know, and I'm sure the power play question will be coming up, but that's got to get better. You know, like the offensive stuff, you know, a 2-2 game, 6 minutes left, can we make 2-on-1? Can we make that play to score, to make it a 3-2 game? Those are the moments we're going to look for a lot more next year.
All right, so that was one of Tocchet's more detailed answers, and it included Charlie's follow-up about, like, okay, well, you know, like, what exactly, how do you do, you know, so there was a lot there, but I want to go back to the first thing you and I commented on as we're watching it just now. Developing a harder shot. He's talking about the defenseman specifically.
Yeah.
And I think, like, a lot of guys, like, Michkov can let one go, but sometimes I'm like, was there anything on that?
He could stand to get it a little faster.
I think there's a number of guys, not to just single, oh, we're going to just criticize him all day, but, like, I think there's a number of guys who are counted on to score that could just add a little zip to their shot. Like, yeah, Forster, Tippett, they can let it go. Everyone else could absolutely stand, but they put Rasmus Ristolainen on the power play for a specific reason. Well, I don't know. He can pump a slap shot. He led the team in shots on goal in the playoffs. Or shot attempts, I believe. Attempts in the playoffs. He's talking about Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's talking about other guys too, but he's definitely talking about Jamie Drysdale. The reason why I know he's talking about Jamie Drysdale is because I've heard Rick Tocchet make that Quinn Hughes comparison, tell that Quinn Hughes anecdote before, earlier this season, and he brought that up when he was talking about Jamie Drysdale. Specifically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm 99.9999999% sure that he was referring, at least in part, to Jamie Drysdale. But, look, we watched this team all year. We know they have a finishing problem. And Drysdale is one of those guys because they need a power play guy. And he's presumably going to be one of them they're trying to develop unless they like go out and trade for somebody that's really good this summer, which, hey, I'm not opposed to that. But even if David Jiricek makes the team, plays every night, and is one of their power play guys, you presumably think that Drysdale is going to be the other. And unless they clearly have a power play 1 and a power play 2, and there's a clear delineation where one only gets 40 seconds, like that second power play is still going to be important. It's still going to need to produce. It's still going to need to create. So you're going to need Jamie Drysdale to get better. You're going to need him to get better, to get stronger, to have a better shot. And I'm actually very optimistic about Drysdale's ability to do that because, I mean, this is a guy who 2.5 years ago when they got him, he couldn't play defense to save his life. He just couldn't do it. He was a significant liability in that area. Now it's like the best part of his game. And that's after focusing on defense for, a 1.5, 2 years. He really hasn't focused much on offense. Now this summer, he straight up told us, like, my main focus is puck play. Well, if by focusing on defense, he got real good at defense, like his natural ability would make you think he's going to be better at offense. So presumably you'd think it'd be easier for him to improve his puck play because he was already good at that before he got to the NHL.
And I think talking about him specifically being able to do that leads in to your follow-up of, year 1 to year 2 under Torts, they opened up the offense and suddenly it became, a transition style offense because that was the only way they could ever score. Like,
they were heavy dump and chase year 1 under Torts.
And then it
even
was
more so than they've been under Tocchet.
What we're going to do? We're going to block shots and then the weak side winger is going to take off and hopefully we get to the loose puck and get it to him. And that was their whole offense for 2 years under Torts after that. Tocchet said, I don't think that's how you coach a young team. I don't necessarily disagree. If you have the talent that Anaheim does, it could work. The talent that Montreal does, it could work. But the Flyers are a little away from that in terms of their young guys reaching that level and then adding more talent. But the idea, so Jamie's going to work on that. And when he talked about practicing differently, to me, that sounds like, hey, man, in year 1, I'm just trying to get this team to, not give up a league-leading amount of backdoor goals. Yeah. So it was all about defensive structure. There will be adds. There will be subtractions. It's not going to be the exact same team. But if 90% of your roster now has the structure part down, we can just practice more offensive zone, small area game like he talks later. We need to be a better wall team and things like that. Generating offense, practicing the power play more. And if you dedicate that amount of time to it, Drysdale got good at defense and now he's got to, because he dedicated the time to it. Maybe that boosts them simply because they're putting the more time in because they have the other stuff down already.
No, I mean, spoiler alert here. I thought basically everything that Rick Tocchet said today was good.
Yeah.
It's what you want the Flyers to do. You want them to have more of an attacking mentality. You want them, he specifically says, do we want to carry the puck in more? Yes. Be more calculated, of course, but we do. We want to have more puck possession. We want to create more offense. I thought everything you said was good. Now it just comes down to whether you think, number one, he's actually sincere about it. There's a line in the Game of Thrones book series where it's just words are wind. Okay, well, actions matter more than words. So you can say you want the offense to be better, but if you don't actually make the changes, then who cares what you said? So that's number one. Number two is that, he might want the team to be better offensively, but if he can't actually implement a system that can do it, it may not be that he's lying. It may just be that he's proves incapable of unlocking this team's offensive capability. And we'll only know if he can do that by watching and waiting and seeing how it works out. But I think in terms of what he said about how he's going to try to get this team to be better offensively next year, I don't think anything he said today was bad. There was nothing that jumped out at me where I thought, man, I totally disagree with that. That's not going to work. All this stuff sounds good in theory, and I came away from that presser feeling pretty good.
The foundation of this team under Rick Tocchet is going to be defense.
Yes, absolutely.
That is who they're going to be. They are not going to be a team that scores 6 goals a game. At no point will they be Colorado,
Shock me.
And if they get Nathan McKinnon, like he says later, we're not that team. We don't have that guy. Sure, if they get a bunch of awesome players suddenly, then maybe, but they are going to be a team that wins with defense. However, turning defense into offense, which I do think they did a very good job of in post-Olympics. Suddenly it was, hey, you made a play at the blue line and now you can take it the other way instead of like, okay, and now we're just going to take 5 minutes to break out. Like, I do think they did a good job of it, but as we saw, when the level of competition and intensity raises, they have a ways to go. And that leads specifically to the power play.
Yeah.
The easiest way to juice your numbers is have a power play that isn't the worst thing everyone's ever seen.
Not wrong.
And I absolutely love showing everyone these stats because they are astounding, Charlie. So they were 3 for 36 with one shorthanded goal against. That's 8.3% in the playoffs. They were at 15.4% in the regular season. That's 37 of 235, giving up 9 shorties. In the 5 previous seasons, since 21-22 through the end of this regular season, 14.1% with 43 shorties against. 33rd out of a 32-team league. It is embarrassing how bad they are.
Even this one.
It's so fun because it's like,
so
I'm not making it up. Look at the stats. The fact that Arizona and Utah are 2 separate franchises is not my fault. But you see this. Even worse, the difference between 33 and 32. The Ducks at 17.2% are the 32nd ranked team over the last 5 seasons on the power play. Is 3.1%. That is the same as the difference between the number 2 team in the league over that time, Tampa, and the number 15 team in the league over that time, Ottawa. I realize we're talking about 3%, but that's a huge number. And that is the gap between them and the next worst team in the last 5 years. Now, to be fair, a whole bunch of dudes weren't on this team at that time. Like, there's like 4 dudes remaining from that team 5 years ago. So maybe it's not the fairest comparison in the world, but it's a long-term problem. It's not all on Tocchet. This is an organizational issue, but it is on him to get this freaking thing fixed. Mm-hmm. Now we have a clip on him talking about how maybe he'll do it.
Yeah, so walking into this and the staff together, we knew it was something. It's a 5-year, 6-year problem. It's a talking point every year here. So right away for us was, we didn't want to like make it such a focal point that it took away from other parts, but it is a focal point. It's a mental thing and a physical thing for me. Like I felt us down the stretch, and we had implemented a lot of young guys in the power play too. So you had to give them. They weren't part of the last 5 years, so you got to give them a break where they're coming in fresh, which is great. We can fresh ideas for those young guys. I just felt some guys were nervous. As soon as we had a power play that we hit the ice, I could feel tension from some guys, and we got to release the tension, and that's my job to release that tension. So that's the diving into it this summer. Different scheming, different way of practicing. Maybe less information. Sometimes giving too much information makes guys tighter. So we're going to dive deep into it. But I felt, I'll be honest with you, I felt some guys went out there and they were just. You could just see that it was like they were clenching their stick. Because there was Carolina's the litmus test for me because they just go balls, to the wall. Sorry, and they just go hard. And there was, and I'm not going to bore you guys. We could sit and watch video. I can say there's about 8 plays where we hit just that one, and that's part of the game. I get it, but if we make that play, you got a guy by himself in front. We have a 2-on-0. We just were making those plays, and then as masturbates, or the tension, and then all of a sudden, I didn't like our retrievals. Talking about the power play again, I didn't like our retrievals at all. A lot of times we had 3 against their 2. And somehow we never came out with those pucks on the positive side. We were more on the negative side, and that's got to be an improvement. And that's something we're going to really focus on.
So the idea that they can focus on it more, like I think that speaks to the last one. Like, hey, we couldn't practice it all the time because there's a whole lot of stuff we had to practice. Yeah. Perhaps now they will have more of that time. But you also brought up on the show, and I think you brought up in the press conference, like Jamie Drysdale openly said, yeah, like it's not just the scheme. Like sometimes we just go out there and forget what we're supposed to do and do something totally different. Damn. And Tocchet kind of puts it as, yes, we need to scheme it up. We need to make this thing better. Absolutely. Also, it falls on the players. Yeah. Like if you're up at the top and there is a 2-on-1 down low and you go the other way with the puck, like I don't know, man. That's not what we practiced. Like, there is just you have to be better at this thing if we're going to get better. They'll make ads, I assume. They'll at least attempt to. They'll work on it. But ultimately, this is more than anything a personnel issue in my mind. The scheme needs to change because it don't work, like, obviously. But someone just needs to make a play sometimes.
Yeah, I thought, because the one thing about Tocchet, and I think everyone is realizing this, everyone who follows this team very closely, is that he can kind of devolve into word salad at times, where he just kind of goes off on random tangents and sort of loses track of what he was saying, and then he eventually gets back. But he can be prone to word salad. But I think really when you go through his answers in this presser about the power play, if you really dive into what he said and pick out the most important parts, I think he actually did a good job of addressing the issues in that he both presented actual actionable changes that the coaching staff is going to make, while also being like, look, we're going to make changes because it's on us, but also like the players just got to be better. Like, he named 3, and some of them were in this clip, some of them are in the later clip when he's asked again about the power play.
Yeah, there was another one.
There were 3 actionable changes that he notes that, okay, this is what the coaches are going to do. Number 1, we're going to make scheme changes. I'm not going to tell you what they are because obviously, like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give away our scheme to the entire league, but we are going to make scheme changes. We are not going to come back next year doing the exact same things. Number 2, he said maybe sometimes we were giving them too much information, that maybe we were overwhelming them, and maybe we need to pull back on that a bit, kind of like what he said about Michkov.
Yeah.
And look, that's a language thing, but he's thinking to himself, hey, I gave Michkov a little bit less stuff to worry about, and he got better. Maybe that'll hold true for the English-speaking guys on the power play too. So that was number 2. And then number 3, which wasn't in this answer, but I thought it was very interesting. He brought it up in a later answer, not in this clip. He said, look, maybe we got to just do stuff more on the ice and less on video. He brought up the idea that it seems like he had been bouncing around with his coaches of, instead of doing the half an hour video session before practice, why don't we just do a half an hour on ice before the actual practice starts every day? And just half an hour on the ice before the actual practice on the other ice rink, just doing power play, just to kind of try to create that muscle memory, so we're not watching a video and talking about it. We are actually doing it, and maybe that'll get guys to make the right reads more often. Those are 3 actionable changes that the coaching staff is seemingly going to make for next year. That tells me that they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it, and they're willing to share that, like, no, this isn't all just like black box. Well, we're going to make changes. Just trust us. These are the changes that we as a coaching staff are going to make, because what we did this past year did not work. That's good. But also, they can't fall on the sword entirely. The players also just need to be better because, quite frankly, they stunk a lot of the year when they were doing the things that they were told to do on the power play. Got to finish more. Got to make the right reads. When the coaching staff tells you, hey, when they show this look, do this, and then they don't do that, that's on the players. Yeah. That's not on the coaches, especially when the coaches look at the video and they're like, well, if they would have just done what we told them to do, like, there's a guy wide open on the back door.
The play was there. Yeah. You did something else. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. And that is like, hey, they can't go out there. It's not like I've said all along, like, yeah, I do think Tocchet needs to open things up just in general, but I don't think, after 3 games against the Penguins, he saw them score 11 goals and went, no, you score less. Like, I don't think that was the conversation they had after game 4 or after game 3.
Seems unlikely.
That seems wildly unlikely to me. All right. On the other side, Charlie, I waited as long as we could. We will be 25 minutes into the show before we get to the Matvei Michkov of it all. Stay tuned after this 2-minute break. Thank you for being part of the PHLY community. We're always looking to improve our shows and better understand how you watch, listen, and what you value most. So we want to hear from you. That's why we've launched a quick survey. Your feedback helps us shape the content you love and make it even better. It only takes a few minutes, but it makes a huge impact on what we do and how we do it. Obviously, if you're a PHLY Flyers follower, then you're someone with great taste, just like me, and impeccable judgment, just like Charlie. Don't you wish the Flyers front office was open to this kind of feedback? All you got to do is take a moment, scan the QR code on your screen, or head to allphly.com/contest and let your voice be heard. Again, that's allphly.com/contest. Every respondent has a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. That's right, a $100 Amazon gift card. 3 minutes of your time could get you $100. Thank you for being part of our audience and helping us grow. Elkin Chevrolet, run by three brothers, real brothers, local guys, and right now, these guys are going all in. Check out their inventory of Chevy trucks and SUVs, the ones people actually want, priced to move fast. Silverados, Equinox, Trax, Traverse, if it's on your list, they have it, and they're going fast. So if you've been waiting, do not, because once these trucks and SUVs are gone, they are gone. Whether it's getting to a game, going to work, or getting out of town, you'll be driving off in the right ride at a price that makes it an easy yes. And here's the difference. No runaround, no back and forth, no games, just real brothers making real deals every single day. Elkin Chevrolet, real brothers, real deals, and a whole lot of that signature honkin' good service. Located on Route 73 South in Marlton, New Jersey. Stop by Elkin's today. Let's go Flyers. Those Let's Go Flyers hit a little different now that the season's over. Anyway, it's time to talk Michkov. It's the Michkov of it all, Charlie. We have a couple of clips. The first one is your question asking specifically about the scratch in Game 4 against Carolina.
Just felt, honestly, I wanted to get more speed in the lineup. Listen, it's not like everybody was on point in their game. I'm not going to single out him. There was a couple of guys that struggled, and at that moment, as a coach and staff, talked to other people, and we just felt, hey, maybe a little fresh air in the sense. And Mitch is it's his first playoff run. He's a second-year player, so I think it's if it happened to another young guy, nobody really say anything, but it's the pressure of that. So we just got to let this kid breathe, because I think he's made a lot of strides. I can't talk for last year, but I can talk for this year that he's made some strides. I mean, he's already. I think he skated yesterday. I mean, it's pretty cool. I'd rather him not skate. I want him to take a break. But I'm not going to tell him not know what to do, because, but to him go out and shoot pucks yesterday is something that he knows that it's something that, he's got it's almost like a vengeance tour. And I love that. I think every player should have some kind of motivation in their head to prove anybody wrong. I think that's really important.
Where he praises the work ethic.
It's a really good quote. There are sometimes, before we get into this, I just want to make this point, that I've been surprised at times this year at how little Tocchet sometimes can sound like a guy who was in media. I'm like, man, you kind of just talked yourself into a bad spot. Didn't you do media for years?
Yeah.
But then there are other times where he just nails one, and you're like, oh, right, there's the guy who was paid to talk about hockey on television. And that vengeance tour quote, that was chef's kiss. Oh yeah, you could say that on TNT, and people be shaking their heads, yeah, good one, Rick.
No, the end of it's good, and he praises the work ethic. And the idea, prove everyone wrong. Go ahead, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I really liked that part. And it is something when we talk about, as media people, we've said a few times, hey, man, thanks for the quote and the content and everything. But, me being a fan of the team, I'm like, shut up. Yeah. Stop saying things. And
I just thought he was maybe more careful.
Yeah,
given his media background, and sometimes you're like, Rick, where's that media training?
Every single time, even, he would bring up Macklin Celebrini. Oh, he just shows up in such great shape. And it's like, buddy, please stop saying this. And that, was a nice reversal of what he did a lot of the year. Yeah. Where it was came into camp out of shape. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. It's March. Why are we still talking about August? I can't deal with this anymore. But so that part was good. A lot of people have taken exception to, the spoken the wheel quote. I think he said that later in the press conference, and he said it to Gargano, I believe, on Monday.
He adjusted it this time to
a
big spoke.
A big
spoke in the wheel.
It's no secret he wasn't that good this year. Yeah. I know a lot of people just don't want to acknowledge that and think it was all the position he was put in, but he wasn't as good. There's an adjustment. It's a different offense. He was put into an offense last season that allowed him to feast Because the year before he arrived, the coach openly said, we're doing this so when he gets here, we have someone who can score a freaking goal. Like, that wasn't the coach's focus this year.
Yeah.
And production obviously declined. But I did appreciate the idea of, like, maybe just let this breathe. Like, he is trying to tell everyone, bring the freaking temperature down, which has to happen.
Yeah,
it is externally, the temperature has to lower.
It's funny to hear that from Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
You might dial down the temperature, guys. It's like we're all looking for the guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the Tortorella. This is the Tortorella and the hot dog meme. Again, we're going to have to fix it to Tocchet. But yes, like, turn the temperature down. Let it breathe. Now,
he's not wrong. Like, everything he said was correct. It's just funny hearing it from Rick Tocchet.
You're kind of the reason the temperature got raised.
The only reason.
Part of he wasn't good enough. That's the other part. But, like, you know, you didn't have to tell us he was 10 pounds overweight. Like, you didn't have to tell us that. That wasn't like no one had a gun to your head. But specific to the scratch in Game 4, wanted to get some more speed in the lineup. As I said that night, if you're debating who amongst these guys in the top 9 is coming out, because Owen Tippett's coming back. Okay. I can accept that. Owen Tippett, 1, fast, you're adding speed. 2, has a chance to score. The idea, we're adding speed to the lineup in Jet Luchenko, but Jet Luchenko at this point in his development, why not put Apollo Ono in if we're looking for a speed skater? Like, honest, like,
Luis Mendoza?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Luis scored a few goals.
That's true, he
like,
did.
I'm just saying, like, while they need speed, this is a slow team, and when Tippett isn't in there, like, oh my God, are they slow?
Yeah.
Especially at forward. Now, I get that, but, like, you also just needed to score, and I realize Matvei had no goals and 1 assist. He had no points in the series. He wasn't very good for most of the playoffs. But he has a possibility of scoring. Like, he's done it quite a few times in his first 2 years in the league. I don't have a huge problem with it. That I told Steve that pregame that night. The most frustrating thing to me is that I understand why he's coming out of the lineup. Who he's coming out of the lineup for is a separate issue, but I get it specifically about him. But I don't know. It just seems like this was another temperature-raising thing, and I do like that Tocchet was like, hey, if it was any other young guy, like Bumpton's played to start the playoffs, and he scored 2 goals in the playoffs, you know? Like, there were Forster, there was a case, but also, as you pointed out, like, all the metrics on you know, his side of the red line, at least, are good, and then he finally scores a goal. But, like, there were other candidates. It happened to be Mish. I don't have the biggest, like, I'm not going to sit here as I have in the past and criticize Rick Tocchet. Like, this is not that to me. This is different than times where I thought Mish was being treated unfairly, I think.
Yeah, and my big issue with it was always that I just didn't think Jet Luchenko deserved to be in the lineup based on his season. It's the last game of the year. I don't know, just ride or die with your guys. You know, Michkov, yeah, bad playoffs, and that's, again, why I couldn't get too, you know, hyped up about it, because he deserved to be scratched based on the quality of his play, which was very, very low in the postseason. But he was a big part of getting them there, especially over that final third of the season after the Olympic break. Like, maybe I feel like he deserved to be on the ice for that ovation more than Jet Luchenko did.
That's a great way
and that's something that does bother me a bit. That said, like, to answer your question about it would have been nice to have a guy in there who actually had a chance of scoring versus Luchenko, who really didn't. I think you're right, but I also think, and to be clear, this is not coming from any inside information. I didn't talk to Rick Tocchet about this. Is just a theory, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Is the way Tocchet looked at it was, look, if I put Luchenko in, there's probably a 0.5% chance he's scoring. But at this point, with the way Michkov is playing, there's a 0.5% chance he's scoring too. And at least with Luchenko, if I'm going to have a black hole in one of my spots in the top 9, at least with Luchenko, he can skate. And at least with Luchenko, there's less of a chance that I have to be terrified that, like, oh my God, they're going to try to get Stankoven out against Michkov every single time Michkov hits the ice because they think it's a matchup they can exploit. Like, Luchenko, even though he's only 19, like, he's better defensively than Michkov is.
He's just more structured, responsible player.
Yeah, so
he is much more used to playing a certain style.
So I think that was probably Tocchet's thought, was that, look, Luchenko ain't going to score, but quite frankly, neither is Michkov at this point. And at least with Luchenko, I get speed and more defensive acumen. I suspect that was why.
I 100% agree, but the way I have put it is, I don't know, last game of the you're trailing 3-0 in the series. I don't know if you should like live in fear of getting scored on when like you have fewer goals than games played in the series.
Yeah.
Like that, like those two things. I understand the balance, and usually coaches do tend towards defense. Like in this situation specifically, and for the player that he was put out for, like that's my quibble with it. I guess
the point you made, I don't know if you made it in post game or if you made it on a show this week, but I 100% agree with it. And obviously this wasn't possibility because the guy had internal bleeding. But if you would have, if Owen Tippett can come back in the lineup for game 4 and you scratch Michkov for him, I have zero problem.
No problem.
That is a like, yeah, okay, Michkov's been the worst.
Yeah, man.
He's been the worst forward on the team in this series, and you need to get Owen Tippett back in the lineup. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. My issue with it is just that like I wouldn't have put Luchenko in, but I do understand the thought process. What I assume is the thought process behind it.
I always say I don't have to agree as long as I can see your reasoning. And I think this, like, I think he thought about it. Also, his pregame presser, where he was talking about potential lineup stuff, he didn't name anyone specifically. I saw it coming. I was like, oh no, he's just not saying it out loud.
I was surprised at how few people in the press box thought it was a possibility because I missed the morning skate. I celebrated my birthday the night before and I slept in. So I missed morning skate, so I wasn't there for availability. But I came into that game I was like, I wonder if they're going to scratch him. And when they all come out of the tunnel, I have my binoculars looking. I was specifically looking for 39. And as soon as I didn't see him, it's like, yeah, he did it. Like I think I was the first person to put the tweet out because I had that in the back of my head that like, you know, he was awful in game 3. I wonder if they're going to scratch him.
When Tocchet spoke that morning and was like, didn't say any names specifically, I could just tell by his demeanor. I was like, it's gonna be Michkov. All right, let's get this second Michkov clip. Then we got to hit our second break. But this second one I think is important because it maybe not dispels, but at least pours a little cold water on the Tocchet hates Michkov narrative.
Just felt honestly, I wanted to get more speed in the lineup. And you know, listen. It's not like everybody was on point in their game. I'm not going to single out him. There's a couple of guys that struggled, and it just at that moment, as a coach and staff, talked to other people, and we just felt, hey, maybe a little fresh air in the sense. And Mitch is like, it's his first playoff run. He's a second-year player, so I think it's if it happened to another young guy, nobody really say anything, but it's the pressure of that. So we just got to let this kid breathe because I think he's made a lot of strides. You know, I can't talk for last year. But I can talk for this year that he's made some strides. I mean, he's already. I think he skated yesterday. I mean, it's pretty cool. I'd rather him not skate. I want him to take a break, but I'm not going to tell him not know what to do because But to him go out and shoot pucks yesterday is something that he knows that it's something that he's got it's almost like a vengeance tour, and I love that. I think every player should have some kind of motivation in their head to prove anybody wrong. I think that's really important.
That was the same clip. What we're going to do is take our break, and then maybe we'll have it on the other side. But stay tuned after this 2-minute break. The end of the regular season can be a bittersweet moment. For some fans, the adrenaline of potential playoff glory starts to creep in. For others, the sadness of an empty summer starts to become a reality. But even with the regular season ending this week, there's never been a better time to start something new at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide and live streams almost 800,000 events each year. And right now, new users get $200 in bonus bets thanks to their Bet10 Get $200 promo. All you have to do is sign up, make a $10 bet, and they'll throw you $200 in bonus bets. At Bet365, they know the only thing better than winning bets with your own money is winning bets with theirs. So download the app and use code PHLY365. Bet365, where winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in PA. T's and C's apply. In-app only. Everybody watching and listening knows I take my hats very seriously, and that's why I got to tell you about branded bills. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or even tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd? Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. Summer's here. I just placed a huge order for friends and family, and I cannot wait for it to arrive. They also have a partnership with Penn State as part of their campus collection, and we have plenty of Branded Bills hats on our own website. Head over to allphly.com and click the merch tab to find exclusive Branded Bills merchandise. Head to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHLY for 15% off your first order. Again, that's brandedbills.com with code BBPHLY for 15% off. Okay, welcome back. And we do have this second clip from Tocchet talking about Michkov. This was like the last or second to last question of the press conference when number 39 came up for a second time.
When it comes to Matvei, it's obviously been beat to death, the conditioning aspect of it. Assuming he learned his lesson from that and comes into camp in physically prime shape, have you seen enough in terms of the skill and the vision to believe that he could become still a high-end top?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the kid wants it. Don't get me wrong. But, we have to understand he's 21 years old. He wants it, and we have the tools to help him. And that's a thing that this summer, for him, and he's already got all these different plans, which is great. And we have these tools that can help him. So we got to remember he's 21 years old. Is there the vision? Yes. Is there something that he needs to improve on? Of course. I think there's something he can work on this summer. Separation, speed, all that shot, all that stuff he can work on. But it's not just him. Every young guy, I could carbon copy the exact same thing. You have to be able to improve on all different areas. But he does want to improve. Like I know there's a bit of a narrative like with the coach, like the coaches, and he's in the meetings. Like he's one of the guys that goes grabs Yogi. Hey Yogi, let's go watch the power play. He's one of those self-starters where he wants it. But I think he's learning to understand certain things and how we do things around here. And like I said, he's a spoke in the wheel, and he's a big spoke for us if we can develop him.
And so there's the big spoke where he's not just a spoke on the wheel. He's one of the thick ones that the core of the wheel.
And they say that Rick Tocchet and the Flyers don't pay attention to social media.
Oh my God,
that was absolutely a direct reaction to the outcry from social media,
which I found very funny for a couple of reasons. One, it's like, well, yes, he's part of the team. Every player is a spoke in the wheel. But
there was nothing really wrong with what he said on Gargano. It's just that there are a lot of people who are now hypersensitive to anything because they believe that Rick Tocchet hates Matvei Michkov.
I think once again, Tocchet did a good job of kind of erasing or putting a positive spin on a lot of what happened this season, where he's like, he is one of these guys that's like putting in the extra work in terms of film study, like trying to figure out the power play. He said in the first clip, like, he was out there skating and shooting yesterday, and he's got things to work on, as do every single young player on the roster. Like Alex Bump, Porter Martone, all these guys need to get bigger, stronger, faster. Like, that's just what the NHL is. That's what happens when you're 19, 20, 21 years old. You're not a man yet in a man's league. You got to get there. And it seems as if everyone's on the same page.
At the very least, Tocchet cares enough to lie. You know what I mean?
If he does hate him, I didn't get it from that clip.
Exactly. Like, because that's been one of the things you've seen from critics of Tocchet regarding his handling of Michkov is that, just listen to how he talks about Porter Martone versus how he talks about Michkov. And it's like, it's very clear to people who subscribe to that theory that he thinks Martone is a future star and Michkov is just a dude. Well, today, for what it's worth, when Rick Tocchet was asked about Matvei Michkov, he sounded like he was describing someone who he does not think is just a dude or can be just a dude. Who knows how he's going to develop. Yeah. But he answered as if he was describing Michkov as a potential impact star level guy, which is what all the Michkov fans want Tocchet to treat him like. And that can go too far, and Tocchet should push back when it's like, no, I can't give him special treatment. He's part of the team. I can't give him special treatment just because he's 7th overall pick, just because, you guys want him to get as many points as possible so you can win online arguments against Montreal Canadiens fans. Like, no, I can't do that. But he can give them the, like, yeah, I think your boy's going to be really good, and I don't think he's just another Denver Barkey or Alex Bump. He can at least give them that, and today he did.
And I appreciate, like Tocchet said, like he's made strides, he's learning, like there's things we're going to work on. And there has been, I think, a concerted effort. I believe you tweeted about this, like basically every player was asked about Michkov, which I'm sure they asked.
Not as many as you think. All the leaders were.
All the main guys.
And Noah Cates was because he's his line.
Because he's line mate.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they all love. But like Sean Couturier, I listened to his thing today, and he said something similar to what TK said yesterday, where it's like, man, it's just hard. Like, I remember being a player coming up in this league, and like you're trying to figure it out. And also, he's got the language and lifestyle difference. Like, everything is different for him, and it's coming along. And Coots today said he's becoming more part of the group. He's getting more comfortable speaking English, you know, with the boys and all that. And like all of that together is a good sign. Like all of those things, like, oh, the team hates him. Like, I'm sure they get annoyed by the online discourse and like roll their eyes when he's at the far blue line. It's like, yo, we haven't broken the puck out yet. But that's just what teams do. Like, that's just being teammates. When someone annoys you, like, it happens. It's not everyone's best friends on a roster.
Yeah,
like, that's just fine. But the idea that it does feel like he's becoming more part of a team and the coach believes he's learning and can get him there, I think are all very positive signs.
Yeah, I just think that Tocchet...
At least they said the right stuff,
again,
like you said.
I think Tocchet today said the right things. Now, again, as I said earlier, actions mean more than words. So we shall see how this ultimately plays out. But I think overall, like, I came away, I think my main takeaway, my main reaction from being in the room for Tocchet's press conference was, okay, I don't think he said anything that's going to make people really mad.
Other than the people who are just predisposed to madness.
Yeah, I'm sure if you like nitpick, I'm sure you could find things. But there was nothing in that presser in the moment that I looked at, I listened to, and I was like, yeah, that's going to tick people off. There was nothing that jumped out at me as a clear foot and mouth misstep. Whereas in other pressers that he's done, he'll say something and I'll be like, oh boy. Yeah, Twitter's going to hate that one.
Hey, we're like 47 minutes in. You have us at 100 likes. Not enough. Not enough. Come on. All the work Charlie's doing over here, going to these press conferences, writing articles longer than War and Peace, making the practice notes videos for you. I don't even know if that's a long book. I've never read it. I assume
it's quite long. Okay. I've never read it, but I've heard it's quite
long. Anyway, hit the freaking like button because we deserve it. Damn it. All right. Other than the power play and offense in general and Matvei Michkov, I feel like there was one other specific question asked in this thing. Everything else was just really generalities. Barkey at center was the other thing that he talked about.
I think it was Adam Kimmelman. It was a good question. Yeah. Like, if I would have had another question to ask, I probably would have asked about Zegras.
Okay.
About the, like, do you see him as a center now? Is he still the center hybrid, center wing hybrid? I obviously didn't get a chance because I asked a bunch of questions. I think I asked like 4, including the 3 or 4, including the follow up to the offense question. But yeah, the Barkey coming up was not something I would have bet on. I wouldn't have wagered that a Barkey question would be asked to Rick Tocchet, but I'm glad it was asked because it's an interesting question.
Interesting question. What'd you think of he kind of like, he doesn't know, it felt like. I don't want him going back and forth every single game. Like, that's okay. Yeah, no one would want that. We're trying to develop this kid into like a good NHL player. Changing his responsibilities between Tuesday and Thursday, probably not a great way to do that. What'd you think of the overall answer?
I thought it was fine. I think it leaves the door open, and it certainly shows that Barkey has impressed Tocchet enough that he doesn't want to shut the door on the possibility of Denver Barkey being a center. And again, we're talking about a guy who he's listed at 5'10". That's generous. I think he's 5'9", probably. If that, he's real small.
Say like I'm like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, like
he's not my height.
Those guys are not players that usually end up being trusted enough to be placed down the middle. And the fact that he's convinced Rick Tocchet, who very much is, look, I don't think he's the dinosaur that some people present him as, but he's very much an old school traditionalist hockey man. The fact that Barkey has convinced him that, like, hey, I don't want to shut the door on this Barkey to center idea because he might be able to actually do it. Like, that speaks to what Barkey did this year. Props to him.
All right, one more, then we have to hit our last break. Do you think seeing Logan Stankoven up close as a center on the best team in the East, like, it works for them? Like, do you think maybe, like, seeing it up close was part of the decision? Like, maybe we can try this. or just not having enough good centers?
I don't think it hurt, but I think he was already open to the idea even before the series. Like I noticed, and Barkey even pointed this out when we interviewed him about it down in Raleigh. I noticed even, back in like February and March, there were scattered shifts that Barkey would play the middle. Where if there was a center in the penalty box, they didn't have anybody else out there, they'd throw Barkey out there for a shift down the middle. And look, it's one shift, but you still got to have somebody to throw out there. And you're throwing out a rookie who's real small and putting him down the middle for a shift here and there. That said something about the way the coaching staff viewed him, the way they viewed his style of play. And then they played him down the middle in game 82 when they benched all those guys because guys got hurt. Barkey got the game in the middle in that meaningless game because they wanted to take a look at him there. So I think that, seeing Stankoven be real good for them in the play for Carolina in the playoffs, I'm sure it solidified their belief. Like, I guess small guys can play center well in certain situations. But I think they already were liking the idea of at least trying Barkey. The real thing is like, I just don't know if there's going to be a spot. Yeah. Because if Zegras plays the middle, you assume Cates is coming back healthy, and you've got Couturier, and then you've got Dvorak. There's your four centers right there. We're talking about the idea of maybe them getting another center this year. So at this point, I don't know if there's a spot for Barkey, but we don't know how the offseason is going to go. Maybe they trade away a guy. Maybe they don't get that 1C. Who knows?
All right, on the other side, we're going to touch on a couple of the player exit interviews we did not get to yesterday, and then take your super chats. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? Well, that's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together. Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And Wi-Fi that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's already online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part, there's no annual contracts and no hidden fees. And Xfinity's best equipment is always included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply, and as always, let's go Flyers. Spring is here, and that also means pest season is right around the corner. Ants, spiders, bees, and other unwanted pests become much more active this time of year, making now the perfect time to protect your home. That's why our friends at Evans Pest Control are running a spring sales event for new customers. If you're new to Evans Pest Control, you can get 5% off general pest control services when you book your first treatment. All you have to do, use the promo code SPRING5 when you schedule your service. This offer runs from March 15th through May 31st, and it applies to standard general pest control treatments designed to keep your home protected from common seasonal pests. Just mention or enter the code SPRING5 when booking to receive 5% off your service. So if you're looking for reliable pest protection this spring, reach out to Evans Pest Control, schedule your service, and use the code SPRING5 to save 5% during their spring sales event. Learn more at evanspestmgmt.com. All right, welcome back. Final segment of today's show on PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Charlie, yesterday we covered Tippett, Michkov, Martone, TK, and Vladar's exit interviews. Anything you think stood out about any of them specifically, like that you want to touch on? We did it mostly yesterday, and you broke it down in your practice notes as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that Martone's going to Worlds.
That is cool.
I think that's neat. I think he'll
Dude, you can't get him off the ice.
I think he'll benefit from that because he went to Worlds last year. Mm-hmm. That's actually how he built the early relationship with Konechny and Sanheim and Forster. Forster was there too. That's how he became friends with them before he was even drafted by the Flyers. So that's good. I think that Martone will benefit from that. I'm glad that he's getting the call because, look, selfishly, looks like the Olympics are a thing again, and I want Martone to be one of those guys that's on Team Canada every time the Olympics are all around. So I get to watch a Philadelphia Flyer be on the biggest stage for a top-tier hockey country, and also it gives me the ability to make cases to the bosses that I get to cover the Olympics.
Absolutely. And
Porter Martone, make those Olympic teams, buddy.
He's got the relationship with Hockey Canada. He just captained the World Junior team. He's going to World Championships for a second time. If he lives up to what he damn well looked like for a majority of the, however many games, 19 games he played in the NHL, hell yeah, he can probably be there. Yeah, those are my takeaways, and it's a bummer Vladar can't go because he got hurt in the Penguin series.
Yeah, he absolutely would have.
Yeah,
easily.
I mean, he was on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
His team's out. Dostal's still playing, so like, okay. And yeah, that was really the only things I wanted to talk about. Trevor Zegras, we did not get to yesterday. I really liked how he talked about he refound his passion and drive.
Yeah, that was
a
good quote.
To show up and win.
Yeah.
Like just, okay, so like there was that aspect. It wasn't, like, and he was in an open feud with the team's general manager, and they're playing him in a role where he couldn't be successful, and he got hurt a couple times. Like, yeah, that's probably disheartening for a young guy who thought he was going to be the face of the league at one point. Now he's back. He said he's cool playing winger, center, great learning experience playing center in the playoffs, figuring out how hard that is. He's going to hit the offseason hard. But the most interesting part to me, the contract. He said, basically, personally, I'd love to be here for a long time. I hope that would happen over the next couple months or, whatever the time frame is. He really sounds like he loves being in this room. And no one's ever gone on stage and been like, I hate this team. Get me the F out of here. Like, that's
I'm
never.
Sure it's happened.
I'm sure it's happened, but like,
pretty rare.
This is the NHL we're talking about here. They barely want to do this. Like, the tone, that was like the one time it felt like Zegras was normal Zegras. Like, he seemed very subdued.
Yeah.
Like, his tone was, hey, man, we just got kicked out of the playoffs, even though, like, hey, everyone knows successful season, all that, but, like, kind of want to still be playing. He felt like he understood that tone, but when asked about staying, he perked up.
Yeah, I think that's going to get done pretty quick.
You think it's like a 7-8 year deal?
I don't know if it'll be 8. But yeah, I think
because you can still give out 8s, I think, till September 15th.
September, so midpoint of September, you can give out 8-year deals. No, I think they're going to lock him up. I'm not expecting it's going to be a contentious negotiation. I guess I'll say that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not expecting it's going to be.
Yeah, and I also really liked his. I think you asked about shutting up the critics.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I wanted to come and like, clearly there was an attitude change, or at least he wanted to be perceived differently. He came in, said, I'll play wherever, I want to be coachable, all that. And hey, all that happened was he had a career year. So pretty cool.
I think the Flyers, number one, Zegras wants to be here. He loves his team. He loves his guys. He's buddies with everybody. I mean, him, York, and Drysdale are like the 3 best friends that anybody could have.
Yeah.
Like they are just so tight. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And I think the Flyers realized that one of the reasons why it went sour in Anaheim was that bad contract negotiation that sort of kicked everything off.
Yeah.
And they don't want to replicate
it. It happened with him and Drysdale, and they were both Flyers within 2 years.
I think their view, honestly, and this is not coming from an inside source, this is just a guess, but again, it's an educated guess. The way they're going to look at it is like, you know what? Like, look, yes, every dollar matters in the cap world, but cap's going up so much. Like, let's not start a fight with this guy over like $300,000 a year. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, like, you know what? We made up that $300,000 in jersey sales, and we'll sell even more.
Yeah.
Like easily $300,000 in jerseys.
Yeah.
All right. The next guy, real quick, Risto. His appearance was only 2 minutes, but he gave one of my favorite quotes of the entire exit interview.
It was a good one.
Asked if he's going to have a healthy, normal summer. He goes, "Yes, thank God."
Such a good quote.
First normal offseason in 4 years for Risto. Yeah. If you had to guess, is he in Philly when camp opens?
Ooh, good question.
I know you don't know.
If I had to guess, I would guess yes. I think he is.
I know they have guys who we think could be elevated. We know Jiricek is not going to be waiver exempt, so he's like going to make the team unless they're going to try to pass a former 6th overall through waivers. Bonk seems pretty close. Like, they played him in the playoff game. McDonald, I just want him here because he Cronwalled someone in his one game, and like that's what I've been dying for a decade. These spots have to go. Someone has to leave to open up these spots. Yeah. But if the idea is, okay, we made the playoffs, we had a good season, we want to be as good or better next year. At this point in time, I don't know how you do that without Risto. Now, if they go get another top 4 defenseman, sure.
Yeah.
But like, just trading him for a first on June 28th or whatever, like, I don't know how that makes the team better on October 9th or whenever the season opens.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I could see a world where they trade him. I don't think it's anywhere near a lock that he's going to be on this team because, look, Flyers took a gamble. They didn't trade him, and he didn't get hurt. So not only did he not get hurt, He looked good in the playoffs for the most
And through
part.
nine of the 10 games, he's the team's leading scorer.
I
got to trigger overtime.
Whatever.
Sorry. Go to allphly.com to finish the show. He looked pretty good.
I was
overall.
critical of Briere's decision not to cave and to hold to his price. But even setting aside the fact that like they probably don't make the playoffs if they trade Risto, and this was a lot of fun watching this team in the playoffs, so I wouldn't want to trade that away in retrospect. Even setting aside that, I think he has more value now than he did in March.
After the Olympics and the playoffs, I mean, again, he wasn't passed as the team's leading playoff scorer until Game 10 when they got eliminated. Yeah. Now, that says a lot about how little offense they generated, but still, he put up 5 points. Yeah. Last guy I want to talk about real quick, Sam Ersson. Just like, man, I really like him, and I don't know how you come in with him as like the backup next year. I don't know how you do it. He had obviously great down the stretch. Terrible beginning to the season, 22 starts, 351 goals against, 856 save percentage. But 7 starts, 9 games post-Olympics, 912 with a 199. If he doesn't change his game, if he doesn't find his game, they probably don't make it. That said, again, if the idea is to be as good or better next year, how? How can you possibly rely on him?
Yeah. I think where they should look at it with Ersson is, if we're making this decision in mid-February during the break, it is don't qualify him. It's over. I don't care. Just get somebody else. You can't have the actual worst NHL goalie as your backup going into next season. Now I think you can look at it as Ersson's the fallback plan, where you still try.
I would qualify him.
You try to get the upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You try to get a better goalie, whether it's in free agency or whether it's via trade. Because, hey, you're a playoff team now. You want to win games. You want to show that you can make the playoffs 2 years in a row, which they pretty much didn't do the entirety of the last decade.
11 and 12 is the last time.
Yeah. So it's important to try to improve, and that's a low-hanging fruit area to improve. But I think now it's not like you can sell that we think Ersson fixed something if you try. If you go out and you try to make trades, you try to make signings, and you just strike out on guys, Ersson can be the backup plan in a way that I didn't think he could be in February.
All right, and I see our goalie expert Mellerman in the chat saying he can explain.
Well, he loves Ersson. He's such an Ersson fan.
I don't know, man. We have a 3-year sample size in which like his most consistent, like 17 games where he was real good, and the rest of the time he's let in a ton of goals. But that's that. That's pretty much all the player. Was there anything else? Any other guys like Forster or Drysdale or anyone you wanted to touch on? I mean, we have the rest of the week.
We have the entire summer.
We have the rest of the week.
Well, here's one thing I do want to throw out here. This is a PHLY Flyers Discord idea. Because we were talking about Ristolainen. They're actually talking about it right now. But it's been come up over the last couple of days as a like, wonder if that would be an interesting idea. Gonna throw out a zany idea for you about the defense. There ain't that many free agents out there. Ain't that many like legitimately interesting, impactful free agents. Would you offer John Carlson like 1 year, $14 million?
Sure.
Like, give him wildly overpay him on a 1-year deal and put him in your top 4 and then trade Risto.
He's not what he used to be on the power play.
But he's still good at
it. If he lost an arm, he'd be their best power play option.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm pretty sure he has all his extremities still.
He's looked good for Anaheim in these playoffs.
Yeah, he has. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Like
you're overpaying for it, sure, but you got the cap space.
Yeah, that's totally if you have to use the cap space because like you get a legitimate like star player, sure, do that. But otherwise, yeah, that is a great stopgap.
Yeah.
He can teach someone something maybe. That I don't hate it. I don't have a problem with it. It'd be kind of funny if he doesn't go back to Washington. Like that'd be great.
It'd be fun.
All right, let's get Malkin too. All right, let's get to the super chats. Let's go to JH. Someone actually asked, should we do like a Malkin thing? And I was like, it's not as funny as like Yager. Obviously, if you could get Crosby, which would never happen, sure.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't know how you bring Malkin into this room. I don't think I'd like it.
I mean, it would show.
It would be very funny.
It would show how committed you are to making Matvei Michkov work in Philly. It would show that.
Yeah. Maybe like flyer on Tarasenko or something. Someone a little cheaper who hasn't two-handed half the guys on the roster. All right. JH with the only super chat today. So a certain $2 million average annual value, beloved, a ginger face wizard and power play savant might be available. Have your thoughts changed? Do you do it? Does it still undermine the room? Hashtag bring him home.
JH is never going to get off the Giroux.
Obviously,
He's never
we're talking about Claude Giroux here. My sentiments haven't changed. You did your time, man. You're free. You're free.
You're free.
Be anywhere else. There's 32 teams. Be on any of the 31 of them. I would hate to see him in Pittsburgh. That would bother me.
That would
so any of the 30 other teams.
Any of the 30 other teams.
Yeah, the Ducks would suck too.
Yeah, that would.
Just bring him home. No, I'm not even of the undermine the room mindset, which we talked about the last couple of years. To me, it's just like, we're moving forward. It's over. It ended. I love the man. I hope they retire his number one day. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's my age. He's going to be 38 in January. Like, I think it's over.
Jeez.
Like,
Crazy.
Or maybe he's already I think he's already 38. I think he turns 39.
You know what I think, what I'll say about Giroux? I don't think this is the offseason to do it. However, I think, you know what, the soonest I would be okay with it? Soonest I would be okay with it is, let's say he signs another 1-year deal somewhere else, whether it's Ottawa or whatever, and the Flyers are like legit good next year.
Trade for him at a deadline.
Trade for him at the deadline.
Yeah, like
I would do that.
Let's get the man the cup. You know, like if we're that team,
Yeah.
like we're the best team in the East.
Yeah, or even just like a clear playoff lock, like
definite,
you don't
like
have to sweat it out the entire year.
Yeah, you didn't need to win.
I think I would do that.
You didn't need to win every game for the last month and a half to get in.
Yeah.
Like you're a 100-point team locked in like December.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I think I would do that.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, and we got one at the buzzer from Obi-Wan.
Hey!
Says, hey. All right, great to hear from you, Obi.
Hey, Obi-Wan.
Appreciate you dropping in. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here in the PHLY Sports YouTube page. We ain't going anywhere. Our time is moving to 1, but the schedule remains the same every single day. There's like a couple, summer holidays I think we're off. But for the most part, 5 days a week, all summer, starting at 1 p.m. Monday, May 18th. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast wherever you get those. I'm Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Thank you, Brenna. Be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.